Welcome. Today I'd like to inform you guys a little bit about how to eat healthy in today's society. Today, eating healthy often gets overshadowed by other things such as work and school. People put eating healthy on the back burner because they get too busy. The other reason people don't eat healthy is because they just don't have the proper knowledge. But with a very basic understanding of how to eat healthy, you can really improve the quality as well as the quantity of your life. To eat healthy, you need to understand, first of all, what to eat and what you're consuming. And the two basic things you need are macro and micronutrients. Let's talk about macronutrients first. Macronutrients contain three things you're probably aware of: fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. And they are called macronutrients because they are needed in larger quantities, as opposed to micronutrients, which are not needed in large quantities. Let's start talking about fats. Fats are your body's main source of stored energy. This is the first thing your body starts to use for energy after it has used all the food that you eat. Fats contain 9 calories per gram and should constitute about 20 to 35% of your diet. There's a myth out there that fats are the enemy and you should never consume any fat, and all these grocery stores are talking about low fat and no fat items, but in reality you need some fat. However, yes, it does need to be limited. So good sources of fat are nuts, avocados, some vegetable oils. Some bad sources of fat are trans fats, which is basically anything fried. Those contain very little nutritional value. The next thing let's talk about is proteins. Proteins are needed for your body for growth and maintenance. As opposed to fats containing 9 calories per gram, proteins contain 4 calories per gram. And you need about 12 to 15% of your diet needs to be protein. Protein can be found through chicken or fish or some lean red meat. And also proteins have 20 amino acids, which are known as the building blocks of protein, 9 of which can only be received by your body through nutrition. That's why it's very important to eat protein, because you cannot get these 9 amino acids in other places. The third macronutrient is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are your body's main source of immediate fuel. This is the first thing your body uses for energy when you consume food. They need to constitute about 55 to 60% of your diet and have 4 calories per gram. Carbohydrates can be split up into 2 categories: simple and complex carbs. First of all, simple carbs have little value beyond the energy they provide. However, they are absorbed much faster by your body, so they can be used a lot quicker. This is why you see marathon runners and people doing Ironmans eating simple carbs, because they need energy immediately. That's why when you see a marathon runner eating a piece of pizza in the middle of his run, it may look awkward, but the reason he's doing that is to get quick carbohydrates to be used as energy right now. There are simple carbs, which we just talked about, and then there's also complex carbs, which need to be the vast majority of your carbohydrate intake. Complex carbohydrates are called complex carbohydrates because they contain dietary fiber. Fiber helps in your digestion. It can help prevent cardiovascular disease as well as things such as colon cancer. Great places to find fiber are pretty much anything whole grain. Whole grain cereals, whole grain pastas, whole grain breads are another great place. And that concludes macronutrients. Let's talk about micronutrients a little bit. Micronutrients are things that need to be consumed in much smaller quantities. And micronutrients contain vitamins and minerals. Vitamins are needed for growth and metabolism. Some examples of vitamins are A, E, D, and K. People need different amounts of vitamins depending on who you are. For example, pregnant women need a lot of folic acid, as opposed to a man would not need near as much folic acid. Another thing I'd like to touch on with vitamins is people often don't get their vitamins through proper nutrition, such as eating vegetables, but they will take a vitamin pill. And these are not as good for you because your body cannot absorb that many vitamins all at once, and it ends up just excreting many of them and not using them. Also, let's move on to minerals. Minerals are provided by healthy eating, and minerals can be found in the hard parts of your body, such as the nails, the teeth, and the bones. One good example of minerals is calcium. Calcium is the most abundant and most needed mineral that your body has. Great places to find calcium are many dairy products, such as cheese and milk. Now let's move on and talk a little bit about what to drink. Let's talk about the short answer for what to drink, which is water. Water is known as the forgotten nutrient, but it does make up 60% of your body, just to give you an idea of how important it is. Also, to give you an idea of how important water is, you can go 1 day without water as opposed to 1 week without food. Water has a ton of benefits that people often overlook, but it really needs to be the thing you drink most. Now I'd like to give you a couple quick keys to eating healthy, just some quick guidelines to follow. There's 4 of them. The first quick guideline is variety. You want a lot of variety on your plate, which means a lot of color, which means, in short, the more vegetables, the better. The second rule is eat anything not in a package. All the prepackaged things you see at the grocery store often contain a lot of salt and a lot of fats and a lot of foods you don't need. But if you can eat those more natural foods that are not in a package, you'll be much better off. The third rule is portion size, or the rule I call pack half. This is when you go to a restaurant, you want to take half of your meal home with you. A good rule is to put half of your meal in a to-go box before you even start eating. That way you're not tempted to eat more than you should. And the fourth rule, which I just touched on a minute ago, was water. When a great diet trick is to never drink your calories, and water obviously has 0 calories. And another thing about water is a lot of times when you're thirsty, you will actually feel hungry. But if you can hydrate yourself and not get to that point of thirst, you will probably end up eating less because you will not be thirsty. I'd like to just conclude with a basic understanding of how to eat healthy. You can improve your quality and quality of life. And if you can follow those 4 simple rules of variety, eat anything not in a package, pack half, and drink lots of water, you can really improve your lifestyle. At this point, I'd like to open up the questions to the audience. Yes?
Yeah, you've talked a lot about what to eat. Is there any guidelines around when I should eat or how much?
That is a great question, and yes, there are some guidelines. A great guideline is you want to eat about every 3 to 4 hours. This way, your metabolism will continue to have something to work on, so your body won't slow down and stop processing food as fast. A few things for when to eat are, you always want to eat breakfast. Never skip breakfast, because when you eat breakfast, it jumpstarts your metabolism, and you'll actually burn calories at a faster rate throughout the entire day. On the other end, eating too late at night, you never want to eat more than 2 hours before you go to bed. Excuse me, less than 2 hours before you go to bed. This is because when you eat and then go straight to bed, your body systems slow down, and you will not process those calories as fast, and that often turns into where fat is accumulated because your body cannot work on those calories very fast. It's a great question. Thank you. Yes?
Now you said a rule of thumb is to only drink water, but what if I just really want something to drink other than water?
Good rule of thumb is only drink water. It is not the worst thing in the world to drink other things, but the main rule to remember with drinking other things besides water is to just limit them. It's okay to have a Coke every once in a while. They contain a lot of sugar and a lot of carbohydrates, but it's not going to kill you. But a warning would be to keep that from being your go-to drink. Your go-to drink needs to be water. If you're going to drink other things besides water, which are a little better for you than Coke, I would suggest something such as green tea, or maybe some even sports drinks such as Gatorade. However, those sports drinks are geared more toward people who are working out. They have a lot of sugar in them, which needs to be replaced when you work out. So that's another great option if you're working out. Any other questions?
You talked about how some foods are better for you than others, and one of the foods that was always heard as being good for you is fruit. So can I eat as much fruit as I want?
Great question. Fruit is incredibly good for you, but it contains a lot of sugar, so you really want to limit your fruit intake. But yes, you need some fruits, but vegetables also need to not be overlooked. But great question. If there's no other questions, I'd like to thank you all for being here. Hopefully you have a little better understanding of how to eat healthy, and that can improve your lifestyle. Thank you very much.